going on, Biggie Nation? Thank you for tuning in again to my YouTube channel. And if you're liking what I'm putting out, like the videos we're coming up with, please like and subscribe. Click that bell so you can be notified when the videos come up. So today we're going to do something we don't normally do. We're going to do a little round table with my training partners here. Paul Norris. He's currently getting ready for Team Universe next year, and this is Ifbb Pro Eddie Papiro. And of course I'm for Big Small. So we're going to tackle some questions that were asked to me on my Facebook. So if you guys got questions, feel free to throw them in. If they're good, I'll definitely do some more roundtables. But this deals with injury, and being that I just got done having a major injury and actually probably going to have surgery soon to further correct the problem. I want to prevent all you guys from going through the same thing. And if I can give you some information that helps you getting injured or hurting yourselves to prolong your careers, certainly that's the least I can do for you guys supporting me and being fans of Biggie Small. So Paul himself is actually torn a pec before as well. So and Ed's never had a major injury, and we're trying to keep it that way. But he had a lot of little nagging injuries the first year we were training together, and his willingness to consistently do therapeutic things to improve his injuries on a daily basis and help him recover between workouts allowed him to not only be one of the best training partners I've ever had, but also to turn pro within a very short period of time. I think like 3 shows. So had he not stayed injury free, that wouldn't happen. So I think his opinions were going to be very valuable to you. Paul's opinion, and because Paul's also been doing this for years. I mean, he's been one of the strongest powerlifters in the game, and now we're both over 40, and we're still training heavy, training hard, and I think this information can help you. So we're going to get right into it. The first question here is, what are the best treatments to use before and after competition to help recovery? So again, the person wrote these in, so I'm going to kind of interpret these for how I would take it. But if you hear that question, Paul, what are the best treatments to use before and after competition to help recovery? How would you hear that? How would you take that?
I would take that as not so much treatments, but how do you repair your body as much as you can. So I would just say that rest and proper nutrition would be the best way to repair any injuries or nagging injuries that you have, preventing injuries as well, especially after a competition. Your body's beat up from all those weeks and weeks of grinding and then showtime. So I'd say rest would be one of the most important ones that comes to mind for me.
Ed?
I'm big on deep tissue massage. 1 hour at a time, all you can take.
Okay, so for me, I know before competition, there's no opportunity to rest. That's just not a possibility. You say every minute you're resting, your competition's not working, right? So that's not really an option. So you have to do things like deep tissue to keep your muscles loose, break down adhesions, make sure that the muscle's not overly tight, and that lessens your chance for tears or strains. As far as the leaner you get, you have to be smart in your training. So I would say once you're past that point where you're already lean, I mean, you can see your lower back fibers, you're seeing your glute fibers, all these things are going on. You're very susceptible to an injury. So I think you're really just one squat away from being done. And so at that point, I think you have to be smart and say, okay, well, I'm not going to be building muscle at this time. So the real purpose of your training sessions is to maintain density. And your body doesn't know whether it's a machine or a barbell or a dumbbell. So if you're feeling a little off that day, err on the side of caution, and training with more machines is okay at the end of your prep, because it's all about making it to the show, maintaining density, and displaying all that hard work you did in the off season when you're eating all that food, had all that fluid and all that loose leverage from the fat in your joints, so that your body could pound and move all that heavy weight. After your show, man, I think, you know, rest. You're beat up, you're certainly overtrained, your adrenal systems are absolutely fatigued, because no matter whether you're doing, you know, your over-counter fat burner or harsher fat burners, your body needs a break. Cortisol levels are definitely through the roof. So rest, lessen your training. You know, again, deep tissue is great at that time too. Cryotherapy to bring down inflammation in your body. These are all the techniques I used in years past. And, you know, outside of this, which we'll get to an explanation on the chest, I mean, I've been relatively injury-free from training. So I've actually hurt myself more guest posing than actually training. So the next question, we'll move right into that, is how important is it to stretch, how often, and for how long? So do you guys stretch at all?
I warmed up in my 20s.
and how old are you now?
38.
38. So we need to do a better job with that. But do you stretch at all?
Hardly any.
I've taken it on like much more seriously.
Right.
Along with the tissue, I'm a big fan of the cupping.
Yes, cupping.
Cup every day in the shower. I mean, it's cheap. You know, I start with that Epsom salt, heavy water, the sleep, the cupping. I mean, when you start getting into $400 a month in massaging, I mean, you know, you better make sure it's worth it.
Right.
You know, you better be chasing a serious goal, following the white paper at that point.
Right.
So,
yeah, cupping. I didn't even mention. I'm actually not good with cupping, but I know that's a very popular, very effective method for increasing blood flow, moving lactic acid out of the areas, and improving recovery. For me, I don't stretch nearly as much as I need to, but because when I perform, that's a big part of my routine. What I often do is before when I do cardio in the morning, I'll make sure to stretch 15-20 minutes. After that, especially as I get closer to the shows or right to my guest posing, that has been a key thing. And as far as stretching, my advice would be, don't do as we do, which we're not doing enough, but stretching for a long period of time is not as important as stretching often, you know, all the time. Think about like a can of paint. You know, if you stir it up and you leave it 2 hours later, you're still gonna have to stir it up again. And that's the way the body works. You know, you just gotta stretch consistently. So if I had to say, you know, you're better off just stretching, you know, a few minutes, you know, up to 4 or 5 times a day wouldn't be too much, because the body tightens up. If you're lifting heavy, you're lifting serious, you know, I always believe don't stretch the muscle you're going to train before you train it. Always stretch after, because you don't want to loosen tendons because you weaken yourself. But stretching everything else that day is a great way to do it. And I think consistently for a short period of time is better than getting like one good stretch in for a half hour every morning. I think consistently throughout the day is a better approach. So the next question, we're going to move right into that, or what are your overall experiences with different treatments, physiotherapy, sports massage, what works best for you? What treatment works best for you? What do you find most effective?
Well, this year was the first year I actually invested in myself and did massages. And the benefits were definitely there as far as the soreness, getting rid of that, being able to train harder, working out the adhesions in my muscles. So now I'm a big believer in that. So that's one thing I'm going to do again. Absolutely, 100%.
Words out of my mouth, Paul.
No, I think alike. Great minds.
It definitely promoted growth. I was a point when I think we had Generation Iron come down. I was curling 60s with one hand and 20 with the other. You know, I was very scared. That, my hamstring, just injuries that I didn't. I mean, I grew muscles that I never even seen before. You know, I thought I had a hernia for 3.5 weeks. You know, it was just a pulled tendon. You know, something tight. So I was very impressed with deep tissue massage. You know, they teased me. It was 37 years before I got one of them, but it worked well. It was worth the wait. And
I've heard you mention that chiropractic really changed your life too.
Yes, when I was 25, I got diagnosed with a bulging disc. They put me through a whole bunch of tests prior to that because my pop passed the cancer. So they thought maybe I had a hip, something inside of my hip was wrong. So then they put me in an MRI. I didn't have anything in there, and that's when they seen the problem in my disc. They were checking for any tumors in and around my groin area. So they sent me next door to the chiropractor, and I've been going there for, ooh, Lord, what's the math on that? 13 years now.
Yeah, 13 years.
It's crazy, right? I didn't let the guy crack my neck for the first 3 or 4 visits for about a month because I thought it was like a witch doctor. I swear I didn't trust him. But he cracked it, and he took the pack of hot dogs out of the back. I could look all the way up again. It's an incredible experience, you know, and it's holistic. It's not Advil. It's not something that you're putting inside of you that your liver's processing. I mean, it works. If you follow, you know, wealthy people, they go to massage therapy. They go to the chiropractor. They don't go to the doctor to get medicine that, you know, you're going to get a pill that you get another pill for, that you wind up getting a third pill to fix the side effects from the first 2 pills. So I'm big on that, you know, and it's cheap. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's like $17 for an adjustment, and that's incredible the way you feel. And if you get adjusted and do exercises so that your body starts to stay adjusted, you don't have the problems anymore. I mean, I've been to the doctor in an ambulance. They had to take me to the hospital before. My back was so locked up. Only once in the ambulance, but that's embarrassing. You know, a kid from my wrestling team has to pick me up on a straight board. You know, here I am, Mr. Muscles. So a few tips, no Advil.
Yeah, I mean, that brings me to a good point. That brings a point for me is when I was going through my salmonella poisoning back in 2016 that put me in the hospital for 7 days. The extracurricular supplements we got to use to be great in the sport, you know, anything I've ever taken previous paled in comparison, didn't do anything to my kidneys. But the Advil, ibuprofen ruined my kidneys, and that was just a week of taking excessive amount because I was in so much pain from you know, being dehydrated, my kidneys not working, and my bowels shutting down. I didn't know what was going on, so I was taking the ibuprofen over and over again, and they said that's what put me in kidney failure when I went in, not anything else, not steroids or any of that kind of stuff, but the ibuprofen that you can buy over the counter. So, you know, my advice always is if you can do alternative medicine, things that, you know, prevent you from having to take just a pill to Band-Aid, because you're not fixing anything. You know, you've got to try and look at it. How do I fix the problem? You know, if you go to the doctors and you have a rib that's out of place, they'll put you on muscle relaxers. You'll be on those things for 10 days before it makes a difference. One adjustment at the chiropractor, and the next day you feel 10 times better. So I definitely think alternative style medicine, chiropractic, acupuncture, deep tissue massage, Graston's has been a blessing. Like, Graston's technique is why it's taken me so long to go and even look at getting surgery on this pec, is because the doctor who's doing Graston's got my range of motion so good that I'm back training and like everything's fine, and doctors are going, how are you training so effortlessly without any pain, and your tendon snapped? So, you know, it's those other styles of medicine that, from the traditional style, that have allowed me to do a lot in my career. I've torn a groin on a guest posing and was still able to compete 5 weeks later through cryotherapy, deep tissue, ultrasound frequency to get the fluid out, and so many other things out there. So definitely do your homework on that stuff. But I would have to say, as a consistent basis, doing something on a weekly basis, I think active release and deep tissue is probably, and Graston's, those 3, deep tissue, active release, and Graston's technique have been saving graces for me to keep me able to train consistently. And that's really what it's about, being great at the sport. You know, like, the next question goes into what's the secret to advice to anyone who would like to pursue a long-lasting, successful career in bodybuilding. And I would say, for me, what I've seen is people don't last in the sport, or people don't do well in the sport because consistency lacks. And whether it's, I'm going to train for X, Y, and Z show, and then I do the show, and then I fall off in my training, I fall off in my diet because of family issues, because you're burnt out, because finances, whatever it's going to be, consistency is what holds a lot of great bodybuilders, a lot of bodybuilders that could be great, from being great. You know, because sometimes, you know, like, when you're going to have to push through some things, whether it's physical, financial, mental, or just, you know what, having to push some people aside that you just have to move on past because they don't fit into what you're trying to achieve and the goals you're trying to achieve. I think you got to remember that it's a, you know, if you love this sport and you want to be great with in this sport of bodybuilding, whether it's whatever division you're doing, it's still bodybuilding. You have to be consistent. I mean, that's everything. What do you guys think on that? What do you think it takes to create a long-lasting career in this sport?
Well, being the elder statesman here, the oldest.
Old head.
You gotta check your ego at the door. You gotta listen to your body. If you're not feeling a certain way that day, and you know, I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard, but it's not all about slinging weights as heavy as you can. It's about getting the blood in the muscle and, you know, pushing it that way. If you feel like something's, you know, bothering you that day, then you can lay off. It's okay. But you know, you still train. You just train it. You may train it differently, but just listen to your body. Really, just it's more of the time under tension kind of thing instead of slinging the weights around. You know, I'm 47, so I've been around the block a few times, and just the way I keep getting better every year is I don't lift crazy heavy weight all the time. I do it when I feel like my body can handle it, instead of my body doesn't feel like it can handle that time, then I just do more reps. So listen in your body, knowing your body. If you have injuries, if something exercise bothers you, then don't do it. If it hurts you, then don't do it. Just listen to your body would be the thing I would tell people to have a long-lasting career in bodybuilding.
Well, I'm going to say the exact opposite because I don't have a lot of time left in my career, so I went balls to the wall. But leaving your ego at the door is huge. But you know, if you want to be successful, there's pain, there's injury. You know, you have to put all that on the back burner. You have to continue to keep going. My biggest advice to anybody is to get a coach. Always, you know, I'm lucky enough that my coach is also my training partner. But we always train, no matter what. He's trained with a broken rib. You know, if it's hanging off, we're going to tape it back on, and you're going to train. That is acceptable. You know, like at some point in time, if you really want something, you can't let anything like that get in your way. You know, you can't be afraid to get hurt. It's inevitable. It probably will happen. Hopefully it doesn't. I never come in with a number in my head. I just plan that at some point in time during our workout, something epic will happen. You know, some days I'm sore and it's not the first set because I've been out working all day. But most days it is, man. I notice that I do that a lot. I like to go all the way in after I'm warmed up. The whole team lifts, you know, forced reps, and a phenomenal spotter, someone that knows, you know, when you're going to hit the wall and knows when to tell you to chill out. You know, like that's what Fred and I always do. Me and him go nuts with each other, goofing off, and then Dad will rein us back in before someone gets hurt. So it really is, you know, to mix intensity with fun, but never to get out of control with it, you know, because you can hurt yourself very fast. The weights, you know, they come off of the rack when you're lifting the big weights with the intention of crushing you. They don't mind if they don't get lifted back up to the rack. I can definitely promise you that.
So I think the best way to put that is controlled aggression, right? Controlled rage when you're in the gym. And we have a saying, you know, it's not about moving weight, it's about making muscles. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you can move 600 pounds if you can't feel the muscle contracting. However, I do believe there are days when that's a necessary evil, because you sometimes have to overload the body, and overloading it with weight that you can just move from time to time, I think is fine. And I think, you know, powerlifters have shown that, because if you look at lifters or bodybuilders that have powerlifted in the past, their physiques are much denser. They're much fuller, they're much denser, they just have a thicker look to their body. And, you know, so I think it definitely has its place. But it can't be something you're doing all the time, because neurologically your body can't handle it. You get worse at recruiting fibers that you're going to build from. And then physically, just that mechanical tension all the time, it's just too hard on your joints. So I think it has a time and a place, and that's why we're the only sport that doesn't really take advantage periodization in our training, because we train a lot of times instinctually, because as long as we're placing a demand that our body can handle, our body responds by growing or improving. And I think we need, as athletes, if we want a long, prolonged career, we need to utilize that technique of periodization more often, so that we're not just coming in the gym and going, oh, I feel like doing this today and it feels good. Because sometimes you really don't feel good, and you're really not doing anything that's going to improve your body, because you're just tapped, you're spent, you're overtrained, you're not feeling great. But if you know what you were doing last time, you'd be surprised what you can do when the mind knows what it needs to be, what it needs to accomplish that day. So I would definitely say a couple things to take away from that is start writing down some of your workouts. I know a lot of guys train instinctually and all that, but you know, we always have a plan when we go out on the floor to train. You know, we always have some type of makeup of what we're going to do. And I got away from that, but I got back to that when I started in 2014 working with Lift Run Bang on Instagram, Paul Carter. And that's made a huge difference to my workouts, because you know what, like, you wouldn't go out there and tell yourself, oh, I'm just going to go and hit 4 sets of 25 with a swinging plate to do rear laterals. Remember where we did those?
Yes.
They were hard as hell, but we did it because it was on the white paper, and because it was laid out. But then the next week we're going in and we're doing heavier reps, you know, because we have a schedule of what we're going to do for next 3 weeks, so it's all planned out. And you know, there's other programs like the Y3T program is kind of laid out that way, and obviously that's worked well for Flex Lewis. So you know, I'm not the only one doing that. A lot of guys do that. So definitely utilize a periodization approach. Also, you know, don't be afraid to if you're not feeling it that day, it's okay. One day doing something a little different because your elbow is bothering you, your shoulder is bothering you, your ribs bothering you, something. If you have to alter the workout, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like again, the body doesn't know whether you're lifting doing a bench press with a barbell or bench press with a machine on one time. Your stabilizing muscles don't get the same work, but your prime movers will get the same work. So if you have to change it up every once in a while, not a big deal. The main thing is you're consistently getting the work in, and being consistent is what's going to take you to that next level. So you guys want to add anything before we close up?
Work hard.
Work hard.
Hire my coach.
Listen to Freddie.
I know you.
Nothing's given, guys. Everything's earned. Try and dominate every day. So this is Fred Biggie Smalls with my partners, Paul Norris, Eddie Papiro. We appreciate you guys, and until next time, I'd also like to thank my sponsors that you see listed here, and make sure you guys support. They're all great products. They're all great companies. So peace. Thank you. Like, subscribe.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
777. If I can score here.
He's going. He's on. Jesus Christ.
I love it.
Let's do it.
How you gonna lose the Lord's name in vain? I hear 3, 2, 1.